Hi, JP Collins here.
And Julie.
And this is the Book of Hours podcast. We're coming to you live from San Francisco. It's the middle of the afternoon here on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And
it's Monday.
And it's Monday, yes. It's the first...
January 8th?
Yeah, the second week of the new year.
Right.
And we didn't watch the Golden Globes last night, but we heard all about it, and we watched the speech that everybody's talking about.
Yeah, so what we did is we were in the middle of watching a movie. Rosa Luxemburg, actually, is the name of the movie that we watched, and it's on YouTube, and you can check it out yourself. And it's a German movie, and it talks about the life of it goes into detail about the life of Rosa Luxemburg, and it's pretty well made. I mean, it's from 1986, so it's a little dated, but we really enjoyed it. So when that movie was over, I happened to check my feed, of course, on Twitter and social media, and next thing you know, I'm here. I'm seeing all sorts of posts come through and messages come through that Oprah Winfrey is probably going to make a run for the 2020 presidential pick.
So that got us both talking. Besides laughing, it got us both talking about how we approach things, ridiculous things like that. And we often say we use critical thinking, but we also use big picture thinking. We use systems thinking, and we base our conjecture, a word that Julie used this morning in her post on our blog, book-of-hours.com/blog. About this situation, and what we do is we use facts and things that are out there in the media as starting points, and a lot of times these things are disparate ideas or disparate thoughts, or they don't seem to connect, and what we do is we start putting those things together because there seems to emerge an overall narrative, and it's conjecture on our part, but I think that a lot of times it really does follow through, and we're not always 100% correct, but neither are any of the pundits that are on TV that get paid a lot more money than we do to do what they're doing.
I think that one of the reasons why we're even doing this is to help articulate how you can shut off your emotions to something that is being fed to you through the entertainment industry or through the media, and allow your critical thinking skills to overshadow that emotional response without losing your sense of empathy, without losing your sense of humor, without losing that thing that makes you human, because you don't always want to be just in your head all the time.
And we often take a snarky approach because it's important. It's important for us to maintain that sense of humor, and that's how we do it.
Right. So the best way to illustrate this is by example. We have friends who are posting on Facebook or Twitter flowery emotional messages, very marshmallowy, super sentimental messages about Oprah Winfrey's speech. And when I first heard the speech, remember, I was coming from a place of watching a revolutionary comrade from Germany, lose her life over her beliefs. So I was coming from a completely different headspace. But that being said, I still think that I would have the same response to Oprah Winfrey's speech, which is one of, I was appalled, I was amused, I thought it was funny, I thought it was disturbing, and I was like, oh, here we go again, with the whole psyops, the psychological operations, the emotional manipulations of your will, whereas that was my very first feeling and response to it, whereas other people who are close to me, their very first response was to immediately, say, Oprah for president. I love her. She's amazing. Oh my God. I can't believe it. Oh, this is great. What a powerful speech. Just on and on and on. Just the accolades and the commitment to their emotions.
And really what it was just a regurgitated or recycled, better word, recycled Obama speech. It was all hope and change, and it was all, dreamy.
And you too can have, the respect and all this that you deserve. Whatever.
Yeah, well, dreamy rhetoric of what's possible in America, and we both know that, and we all know that that's not the case.
Right.
So we have yet another media billionaire trying to, we're readjusting here.
Yeah.
A media billionaire, like another one who's currently in the office, coming out and making speeches, and something that Julie said last night. The first thing that you said was like, here we have. Trump is just, he's blunt and he's belligerent, and there's a segment, most of the population of the United States who relate to that. And then the rest of the population are relating to the more flowery rhetoric of, hopey changey.
Right.
And so that was interesting that she made that contrast, and yet we still have the same class of people, trying to vie for this position to be the supposed leader of the free world.
Yeah.
And so earlier on, and I want to, I kind of want to shift gears a little bit, something we were talking about. Earlier on this year, Julie and I have both been saying we think that the next presidential candidate for the Democratic Party is going to be Kamala Harris,
right?
Who is a politician. She's now a U.S. Senator for California. Mm-hmm. And within less than a decade, she's risen from like a city attorney or like
here in San Francisco.
Yeah, here in San Francisco, like the city attorney or the
District
DA.
attorney?
I can't remember what she was.
I think she was the DA.
Something like that. You know, at a city level, sure, a major city, but city level position to being a U.S. senator.
Right.
Within less than 10 years.
Right, which is a phenomenal, very fast trajectory in a political career. Mm-hmm. So that's where, again, the critical thinking comes into play. So we look at Oprah Winfrey, who on the front is speaking a very flowery, very emotionally moving rhetoric.
Clearly on the liberal side.
And she's speaking something called Respectability Politics, which JP just discovered what that is just a few minutes ago before we decided to go live.
Somebody made a comment on a meme that I posted from another source.
Right. So she's epitomizing respectability politics, which we'll go into later. So again, flowery speech, pulling in the American citizenry with emotion. And is dropped in front of us. So now we have a pretty black woman dropped in front of us with a very sweet message that we can all just take to heart. Mm-hmm. So that is now in the American consciousness. That is now the image that the voters and the people out there see inside their head and in their hearts.
Right. So we basically said she's like a test balloon.
Exactly. She's what's called a test balloon to see how we respond to the way she looks. A black woman, one of the most marginalized people in this country.
Group of
yeah. If you had to separate us out by socioeconomic, groups, black women are considered the most marginalized. So you have somebody, and then of course she speaks this rhetoric of, I came from nothing and I made myself into a multi-billionaire, so I'm self-made, and you can
which
too.
Americans
so
eat up
giving you that
candy.
False hope, because it's not about working hard and achieving your goals in America. It's about who you know. It's about a system of austerity programs that are in place. And if the people who are in charge of those austerity programs come to you and say, do our bidding, speak our will, speak our rhetoric, then we will help you. Then we will put you, in these positions where you can have an opportunity to have, an Ivy League education or,
build a business
or whatever. So she's not really what she claims,
right?
So there's that doublespeak there,
right? Because we know that there's lots of stories about how she has treated her employees and how she's acted, and we
she doesn't pay her interns.
So these are facts.
I lived in Chicago. I know this.
Right, and Chicago is a politically dirty town.
So dirty.
Yeah, and so you can conjecture then that she stepped on a lot of people to get where she is.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So again, like what JP was saying is we think that what's going to happen is she's eventually going to transition out of the American consciousness, and in her place will be Kamala Harris, another young, beautiful, inspiring black woman.
So you have two facts. You have Oprah Winfrey doing a speech live on TV on the Golden Globes, making a flower speech. You have a fast rising political star. Both are from the same not class, but like group of people in the American public, black women. Mm-hmm. Both are savvy, both are smart, but the one is sort of so these are the two facts, right? And so then our conjecture is that this one is the test balloon, seeing what the American public, how they're going to react to this. Of course, they use somebody who's very popular and very well known to do this, not somebody who's not so well known, but she will be the dark horse like Obama was in the 2008 election, right? So you've got these two things. The conjecture between is like, okay, we know that the Democratic Party has been planning Kamala Harris's rise for a long time because she took Barbara Boxer's place, basically.
Right. She just
Barbara Boxer knew she was going to be retiring well before she retired, and so things were set into place and set into motion in the backroom dealings of the Democratic Party in California to get Kamala Harris in there. Okay, so another little, well, that's not conjecture. That's just
facts.
looking at things, right?
Right.
So
that's being able to look at a larger picture. So again,
so these two things, we see these things connected, and we see this affecting this, and that we still believe that this is going to make this happen. Right. So it's Oprah Winfrey's speech is going to make Kamala Harris's presidential run possible.
Right. And it's unfortunate for us. I mean, not a lot of people in this very deep blue city and deep blue state that we live in think the way we think. I mean, there's more people out there that actually think like us than I think we even realize.
Not that we're the be all and end all, but we put things together.
We're kind of we kind of live in a bubble of neoliberalism over here, couched in just liberal rhetoric. But so we made that connection, and so which was why we immediately looked back sort of in horror at this speech instead of the typical emotional response, which is what everybody else had.
So immediately, because America is what it is now, the photos of Oprah kissing Harvey Weinstein started popping up. Right. Plus, there was the video from the speech, and Angelina Jolie looked pretty sour and disgusted.
Yeah, I think that was just
just caught her in a moment.
I don't know,
but it's one of those things that people started picking up on.
Yeah, if I were Angelina Jolie and I had the actual title of a diplomat, I think she's a diplomat for some African countries or some third world country, and she had actually done true philanthropic work and actually has her hands a little bit in politics, and then to have this Oprah Winfrey of all people come in and just kind of sweep in and make this grand, clearly politically motivated stump speech. I don't know. I'd be a little bit man, that's what I was going to do. So I don't know. That's my thought about it.
So sour grapes, we don't know. It's just it's just funny that people have been using it though as a means of contrasting.
They have been looking at Jolie's face and been like, what's that about?
Yeah, it's funny.
But the speech itself, if we really look at the speech itself was born out of the Me Too campaign. Right. So it came from the Me Too campaign. Which
we both were really cynical about.
Right. Which tells me that the Me Too campaign was born out of, and here's where you get into this cycle. was born out of this idea that Oprah Winfrey was going to make a speech. Okay? Why do I say that? Because Oprah Winfrey and David Rockefeller Sr. and Bill Gates, who each have globalist agendas, met in secret in May of this year. It was either May of this year...
2017.
Okay, so May of last year, just, 6-8 months ago or whatever, to nobody knows what they were meeting. But why would three multi-billionaire globalists meet in secret?
They're very powerful people, too.
Right, very powerful people. David Rockefeller Sr., Bill Gates, and Oprah Winfrey. So such a strange combination of people, right?
Right, So the outcome was never really revealed. No, the meeting was.
So we don't know why they met.
But
I think we can guess.
So we can conjecture a little bit.
They each have their globalist agenda. Just very quickly, David Rockefeller Sr., as well as being, like JP reminded me, a big fan of eugenics, which ties into population control, has also dabbled with the idea of a universal basic income. Or UBI. This is something that Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg have been very vocal about and have gone on, campaign speeches about it to campaign for UBI. So we've got David Rockefeller with his eugenics / UBI agenda. Then we've got Bill Gates, who is absolutely part of Agenda 21, which is the depopulation of the earth. He is actually quoted as saying, this process that I'm working on, this product, whatever it is that I'm doing for environmental reasons or for scientific reasons, is to depopulate the earth. So we're talking maybe sterilization, okay? And then you have Oprah Winfrey.
Or something.
Or something,
Yeah,
I don't know.
We don't
so
know.
Then you have Oprah Winfrey over here going, how can I help? What can I do? I have lots of money too now. I'm on Forbes, top 10 billionaires. So they're saying...
We don't really know her agenda other than making money. And
other than making money and self-aggrandizement, I don't know what else her agenda would be. And so they're probably, saying things like, well, let's have you make a speech, but the speech has to come from somewhere. So that's why everybody on board the Me Too campaign was sort of, it was suddenly this thing, let's roust out the sexual predators or, the sexual impropriety in Hollywood. Let's drain the swamp, so to speak, of all these liberal, perverts and all this.
Well,
and so it was born out of that.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if, it was created just so that she could make this speech. That's not what we're saying necessarily.
Yeah, I mean,
but
that's
what we
where
are
my
saying
mind goes.
But what we are is we are tying the two together.
Right.
And, we both feel that the hashtag Me Too campaign I think it was born out of opportunity, but it was also a cynical move to take care of some things that another group, it basically was doing the dirty work of some shadowy group of figures in the background would like to have done anyway.
Right.
Now, what nefarious thing might that be? Well, that would be to get rid of voices and men of influence with money in Hollywood and in business.
Right.
And so
Yeah, because wait, didn't you tell me that Harvey Weinstein was on his way to make a movie to expose
pharmaceuticals.
The pharmaceutical industry and pharmaceuticals and how dangerous and deadly they are to our bodies and how they're really affecting America with addiction and things like that.
Yeah.
And he was on his way to actually,
he was going to put up the money to produce
supporting
that.
these movies and producing these movies, and all of a sudden he's like, the worst pervert in the world,
So,
and is out of a job.
Right, exactly.
And is out of his influential, very wealthy position. Before
we found that out, and when it actually happened, I said, somewhere, somehow, he pissed somebody off.
Yeah.
And or got in the way of somebody from doing something because he was powerful enough or wealthy enough, but somebody wealthier and more powerful decided that they didn't want him in their way any longer.
Right.
And in all cases that you've seen, all these men that have been called out, they're all in positions of like, they were ensconced into their positions. There was no way they were going to be removed for any other reason except for this shaming. Right? Now,
public shaming. Right. That's why we call it McCarthyism in a skirt.
Right. Now, are we supporting these assholes? Fuck no.
Of course not. I don't support the rich.
Well,
I eat the rich.
In general, we don't support rich people in general, but
not
also
billionaires who don't give a shit about me.
Well, exactly, exactly. But also just what they've been accused of. Okay, here's the thing. I don't approve of the court of public approval that they were tried in. What I also at the same time, as a hypocrite that I'm being, feel that what they are accused of is very reprehensible, and they should be punished for what they've done.
But the point is that if they were going to be punished for sexual improprieties at their job, that would have come out a long time ago if that were the issue. Because enough women have complained and been ignored over all these years. Right. The women that did come forward are part of the establishment. They're part of the campaign. And I heard a rumor that they even had to sign disclosures that they would show their allegiance to Israel
and not participate in BDS,
right, and not participate in the boycott, divest, sanction movement. Right. So that is McCarthyism in a nutshell. That is McCarthyism. Right. That is not an agenda to help the marginalized, the people that have actually been treated.
So that's why we say it's sort of this. We feel like there was some sort of nefarious agenda that was going on behind this, because that kind of zeitgeist just doesn't happen that quickly. All pussycat wearing women aside, it just wasn't going to happen, because that was fabricated as well.
Totally.
the women's
Since
march.
when do you go to a global protest or a protest in San Francisco where every single member of the city, every single citizen in the city of San Francisco goes to a protest and there's not one police?
There were a few, but they were just kind of like...
I did not see one police when we were there. We did a podcast on it.
Yeah, we did.
At the time, I was like, this is really great. This is really good. But honestly, it was like, where are the police?
Right.
Because anything that is going to go against the establishment or challenge the mainstream rhetoric or challenge the economic disparity, the police are right there to shoot bullets at you, or put you in a kettle.
Right.
So it's like, and that brings me to the next point that I really want to make, if you don't mind.
No, go for it.
What in the world is going on with the billionaire Black Bloc protest from last night? So it is well known. It is a well-known fact throughout this entire country that for the last few years, and it's amped up more and more and more as the years go by, all of these award ceremonies, the Golden Globes and the Academy Awards, are just fronts for a liberal agenda, and they're a liberal protest. And it's always these fringy, fluffy, marshmallow, feel-good protests. And so these women decide to show their solidarity to these...
Or resist.
Right. Exactly. Or these women show up at the Golden Globes last night, clad all in black, and speak nothing but their protestation of, and now, for all male directors, like Natalie Portman apparently did, and then, of course, Oprah Winfrey's, emotionally manipulative...
But they all wore black.
Speech.
Right.
They all wore black. Now, it's my understanding when you wear all black and you go to a protest... Like we've learned from Antifa and Black Bloc, you get arrested, you get kettled, you face 75 years in prison for disturbing the peace, you get rubber bullets fired at you, and you have to pay fines, and you have a record. So I would like to know if Meryl Streep was kettled, had rubber bullets fired at her, is facing 75 years in prison, or has to pay a hefty fine for her protestation of whatever agenda she felt that she needed to protest last night, and wear all black at the same time.
So what we're pointing out too is that there's this disparity,
glaring hypocrisy.
Right, exactly.
In our country,
you get the people who have all the attention. They get the platform to go up there and protest and say what they want to. But people who showed up at the protest last year at Donald Trump's inauguration,
or at Standing Rock, which is an actual legitimate issue, a legitimate protest, not a fabricated hashtag.
Get shot at and frozen out and
thrown in
jail and
thrown in cages. Protesters at Standing Rock in North Dakota that were trying to number one, remind the citizenry that this was Indian land, that the United States corporation, the fracking corporation, was breaking a treaty between the United States government and the Native Americans.
Right.
Okay, so number one, you just can't go around breaking treaties, but it's what we do, and it's what we inspire other nations to do. And then number two, the fracking that would have taken place in
I'll be right back.
In the fracking that would have taken place on the ground would have polluted and poisoned the water of the communities that surround Standing Rock. I'm going to press this button right here. So, that's a real protest, and they were getting rubber bullets fired at them. One girl lost her eye. They were thrown in cages like dogs. Okay, I don't see any of that happening to the billionaire black bloc set from last night. Okay, so that's the glaring hypocrisy in our country is really obvious, and it's something that we should all be very aware of when we see these 1%ers or 5%ers, coming on board and trying to protest a hashtag. So,
hashtag politics are just not really anything. It's hashtag is not a
politics
movement.
Is nothing more than to generate some sort of emotional response from you to make it so that you don't think about the real issues of income disparity that's about, and the fact that something is around the corner that you're not mentally or emotionally prepared for, which is Agenda 21, which is a separate podcast. But so one more point about the billionaire black blocs from last night is the response I imagine that they would give to me, which is, but we didn't break any windows, and we didn't do any violence. Well, yes, you did, because your Me Too campaign put how many men out of jobs based on a mob mentality, based on McCarthyism, based on there was no, in the court of public opinion, they were eviscerated. There was no they weren't hauled before a judge with their accusers standing in front of the judge. There was no justice there. No. It was simply a manipulation of the American mindset, manipulation of your will, manipulation of your thoughts, and you, as a result of, and I'm talking to, Streep and Portman and whatever, all those really super wealthy actresses out there who, on one hand, I respect for their craft, but on the other hand, I'm like, keep your hands out of politics. Yeah. If you're not willing to go to Standing Rock and actually chain yourself to a fracking machine, then fuck off. Then just fuck off. If you're not willing to go and sit in an impoverished community that through austerity programs, which you yourself vote for when you vote for a liberal candidate, if you're not willing to go sit in poverty with those people who are victims of austerity programs and victims of bailing out, people like Goldman Sachs and the banking industry, then fuck off. Really, stick to your craft. You're really good at it, but leave the real work to us.
Well, we're probably going to catch some, or I'm going to catch some shit for this, but I want to mention. I don't know. I want to mention Kevin Spacey. Okay, so reprehensible. Things said about him were just like, wow. No wonder he's able to play the characters he's able to play. But he also had. The thing is he also had a fucked up life, before he became an actor, and he was awful. An idiot in the way that he responded. Okay, I don't think any response would have worked, to tell you the truth. No. But here's a man who's basically, his career is shit now. Right. It's gone. It's completely gone because of a hashtag and because of some accusations that came out, and he was tried and found guilty in the court of the public.
Tried and hanged in the court of public opinion.
Yeah.
And on a side note, I'm sure he's fine.
He's probably fine because he's got plenty of money,
right.
whatever. But at the same time, he's been completely humiliated, and I don't know. I compared to like the lives that he's fucked up through his actions.
Right.
I don't know where the balance is.
Hurt people.
Well,
so
yeah.
He grew up in an incredibly abusive, and in every possible manner of abuse that you could possibly imagine. Mm-hmm. He grew up in a horribly abusive environment, and so his escape route was his craft.
Right.
And he was able to pull from his past and use it for his characters. Mm-hmm. So
that's why he was Underwood.
That's why he absolutely was Frank Underwood.
Yeah.
There could be no one else to portray that character.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that, the black bloc, the billionaire black bloc set from last night will come back and say, well, we don't break windows. Yeah, well, you destroyed people's lives. And one bank window at Wells Fargo that takes $100 to replace is nothing compared to, the detonation of these men's lives for the sole purpose of having somebody else come in and take over the industry for their nefarious agenda, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. Those men were not removed because of their sexual impropriety. If that were the case, they would have been removed a long time ago. No, there is an agenda in place. Somebody wants Hollywood's influence. They want Hollywood's ability to reach out to the hive mind in this country, because we all treat Hollywood as if it's royalty, and they want the money. So whoever wants that, and I have an idea what it is, but you can think for yourself who you think might want that level of influence and power. That's why these men were removed, because they were roadblocks to that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
we were talking about this the other day, and I really liked where Julie was going with that these men would have they would have been removed a long time ago. I'm just reiterating what you said.
Yeah.
But I find that really interesting to think about, because here's again where we take these facts, we kind of put them together, and basically the idea that these men could have been taken out a long time ago, but weren't. And the thought that this is suddenly a zeitgeist that gets rid of them all in within 6 months period of time is really kind of weird,
Yeah, exactly.
And so the one question we always ask is who benefits?
Who benefits?
And
Chi bono?
For
who
what?
benefits?
For what reason? Okay, so this is again where we look at disparate facts and try to come up with some sort of idea to explain what might be going on in the background.
Right. So
now,
you've got you've got the secret May meeting with David Rockefeller Sr., Bill Gates, and Oprah Winfrey. What was that meeting about? Why these three? What do they represent? Who benefits from that meeting? Then you've got the oustering of all of these, very wealthy men in Hollywood, just gone, their careers detonated. Matt Lauer wasn't, he wasn't let go because he was a sexual predator. He was let go because he had a contract that lasted 1,000 years, right, where he was making $1 million, a day,
right,
and it was just It was insanity how much money he was getting paid. He was one of the highest paid
anchors.
Anchors.
Right,
he was one of the highest paid personalities.
Well, don't call him a journalist.
I didn't say journalist, did I?
No, I said anchor.
No, he's not a journalist.
No.
He was one of the highest paid personalities to continue to quip out the mainstream liberal narrative and be cute and happy and help you make you forget about what's really going on, which is all that television is anyway. But the goal was to get rid of him because he's really expensive. He was really expensive, and he was locked into this, ironclad contract, and there was just no way to get rid of him. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure there were any political motivations with him, but there were definitely financial.
Yeah. Now, when these things...
so just think.
Yeah.
Is all we're saying.
So I'm going to say two things, and we can wrap up after that if you want. Or one is that, you know, we have presented our thoughts around these facts that exist in our conjecture. We never say that we're at the absolute last word, and we encourage you to go and start thinking that way as well, in terms of like putting facts together and not just accepting the narrative that's being spun out to you from NPR, CNN, MSNBC, NBC, CBS, ABC, blah, blah, blah. Okay? The New York Times.
I can feel my eyes glazing over when you're talking.
The New York Times. Okay? Don't buy it. Start looking around and seeing why are these things occurring? Why are they, okay, so a good example is what we were just talking about. When the men's first started getting like brought down, Julie and I were like looking at each other like, well, who's doing this? Because
who benefits from all this?
Yeah, and it's like,
not the victims.
Well, is this Donald Trump's way of draining the swamp? Is that what he meant?
Oh yeah, that's originally where I went.
That was originally where we went.
This must be the draining of the swamp that he kept talking about.
But that doesn't make any sense.
Definitely not happening in Congress.
Nobody benefits from that. Right? Donald Trump, whatever. He's you know, he's his
he
own
hates
thing.
Hollywood.
He hates Hollywood,
Hollywood.
But you know, that's not that wasn't his agenda. Because he's going after his own class, right? So that wouldn't work.
Right.
But they're all liberals. So but the liberals aren't in power. So would liberals go after them, you know, their own? I don't know. So we started looking around and thinking about this a little bit more. And we don't have the clear picture. We don't have the clear answer, and I don't think there ever will be. But if you think about it, and you know, we approached it somehow and said there are people out there who want these people out of the way, or these men out of the way, for a given reason, and it's probably money and power. Okay, well, that's pretty general, but it's the best we've come up with, and I think that, you know, if you guys out there start thinking that way, you know, you're not going to buy into the spun out narrative that's given to you, that's spoon fed to you every day, and it will help us all as a citizenry to be more skeptical of what's being told to you than you know, and we'll be by becoming more skeptical and thinking about these things a little more thoroughly, that we are all becoming, you know, more informed and dare I say woke.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
This has really just been about, you know, helping people understand, you know, kind of like where we're coming from. We had a friend who doesn't live in this country say, the Oprah Winfrey coming out like this is a good thing.
She was allowed to. She
what
waited.
What are you talking about? This is a good thing.
She waited for a place of power to speak this truth, but. The thing is she is powerful. She's been powerful for a long time.
She has her own network.
She has her own network.
She could have been speaking this truth for decades.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
So and it's disingenuous. And it's disingenuous for her to come out now and say this shit.
It's totally disingenuous. Everything about everybody who has anything to say about anything, and they are of the billionaire class or the billionaire set, is always disingenuous. Mm-hmm. So when you start from a position of walking it back, so we take the speech and we look at it, and then JP and I walk back from it and look at it from a distance with all of this other information in front of us, like the secret meeting with Rockefeller and Bill Gates, like the fact that she had every opportunity when she owned her own network to bring on sexual assault victims or victims of sexual impropriety in the industry. She has had years to do that, and I don't think she's done that on her own network.
And if she has, it's been very small.
I don't know.
We don't watch her.
I don't have a TV, so I don't know. But I doubt she has. So we walk back from the thing that's shoved in front of our face. We're going to shove it in front of your face and emotionally get you all attached and emotionally make you feel all warm and fuzzy and like a marshmallow inside. Okay, JP and I are of a different mindset. We could never really identify it, never really articulate it until probably within the last year or maybe two. We finally get it. We are systems thinkers. We're big picture thinkers. And when something is shoved in front of us, instead of just embracing it and holding it close and believing it, we tend to we tend to shy away from it and then pick it apart one by one based on the information that's given to us from various sources. Not all reputable sources, not all irreputable sources. One thing that I found really interesting about the source where I got the news that, where I got the information from the secret meeting back in May with, again, Winfrey, Rockefeller, and Gates, was that practically every other word in this article, in this mainstream article, because it was from NBCnews.com, and I will link the article in the show notes. The article, every other word in the article was the word philanthropy or philanthropist. Right. So it's NBC News. In there, NBC News definitely being a mouthpiece for the mainstream billionaire block black set is like. Did I say black? The billionaire black set is definitely like, trying to keep the warm fuzzies going by dropping words like, oh, the philanthropists. The philanthropist, Oprah Winfrey, really? Oprah Winfrey?
Yeah, well, she gave away some cars.
When I think of David Rockefeller Sr. and Bill Gates and Oprah Winfrey, the last thing I think of is philanthropist.
Right. And so...
That's the last thing I think of.
So this is something else that we often do. It's a mindfuck. You need to read the listen or read the material or the content coming towards you or at you, and learn how to pick out these keywords or these key concepts that are being just lifted up to kind of take the sting away from why are 3 billionaires meeting in secret, right? Why are 3 billion? And we were talking just before we started this podcast how Bill Gates in the last 10, 15 years has gone through a major makeover. There's the word. Makeover in his own reputation and the
way he dresses,
the way that he's presented in the world. He used to be vilified. Yeah. Whether it was true or not, people would say all kinds of crazy things about him to make him look bad. Now it's the opposite. Okay. Yeah. So it's the complete opposite, and the same way that what's his name who just threw Trump under the bus?
Steve Bannon.
Steve Bannon.
I know.
He was vilified by the liberal media, and now he's he's not the golden child or golden boy of the liberal media, but he's not being thrown under the bus. Eviscerated like he was before. Exactly.
I mean, the radical shift in opinion towards Steve Bannon based on that book, I think it's called Fire and Fury, is comical at this point.
Yeah.
It's like watching lemmings. Oh, let's go over here. No, let's go over here. No, let's go over here. Right. It's like, come on, you guys.
And so
make up your own mind.
So look at the words that are being presented to you, the concepts that are being presented to you as lifting them up, but also pay attention to what is being left out. And I mentioned this before in one of our podcasts, but I had a little Twitter tweet roar with one of the presenters on NPR Morning Edition. Yes,
Steve
Inskeep, and I just told him off because he was leaving a lot of information out.
What? NPR leaving critical information out?
And forming an opinion about somebody they were interviewing based on the information they presented, but also a lot of what they left out. So it was pretty interesting how he immediately jumped on me. I've never had a Twitter war with anybody ever,
especially in the media.
In the media.
So it's working. So as citizens,
it shows you that there's something going on there.
Yeah, exactly. And as citizens who critically think, we don't consider ourselves citizen journalists. We're just here to just...
We're an artist and a writer, talking about politics, current affairs.
We're figuring this out as we go along, but but there are citizen journalists out there that do have massive followers, 100,000 followers on Twitter, 50,000 followers on Facebook, and they're using social media as a way to cull their followers and get that message out there, that critical thinking message, and it's really starting to affect the self-esteem of the Steve Inskeeps of the world. I think they're really starting to feel the pressure. Like, oh my God, not again! Well, this little upstart from Seattle or wherever is like making me look bad.
And I have to say, I've listened to NPR probably like 35 years probably, and I stopped listening to it this last year. I just don't, and I turned it on this morning.
News for babies.
Well, it is like news for babies because I was listening to the delivery and I noticed this. I noticed this, like about 6 months ago when I kind of was like getting away from them. That the way that they talk is really like, okay, well now we're presenting an idea. Oh, I get it. You're saying this. Well, yes, Steve, I am actually saying that.
It's like watching Sesame Street.
Oh my fucking God.
It's like the sound of Sesame Street, the sound of cartoons.
It is so different than the way it used to be.
And it's like sing-songy.
It is sing-songy. It's presenting ideas in very simple ways, and it's not news.
It's total propaganda.
It is
artistry.
Propaganda. Yeah,
it's artistry. Is what it is. They go to school to learn this kind of stuff. I think it's hilarious.
Well, and they hired Podesta Group, a while ago, and so there's something to that as well. Okay.
Yeah,
so I think we're
done. No, I think we're good. We made our point. We're critical thinkers. We were appalled by Oprah Winfrey's speech last night. We did not get the warm and fuzzies from it, the way some of our close friends have.
We
got the cold pricklies, and the I had nightmares last night. No, but I just it's really important that you walk back from something that's just shoved in your face. Walk back from it. And put what information you know in front of it so that when you come back to it, you can say, it's legit, or maybe it's got some sort of other agenda going on.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm JP.
And I'm Julie.
And this has been the Book of Hours podcast. And it's been called Picture. As in the big picture.
The big picture.
So we will talk to you again soon. And I hope you're having a great afternoon.
Bye.
Happy New Year. Ah!